Okay, so I'm starting my little spiel here on color theory with Isaac Newton. He was, um, he came up with the idea of the prism and how white light comes in and is refracted into a rainbow, I guess we'll call it. And he is the first person to actually sort of document this and identify that white light, the light that we see, the light that comes in from the sun, is actually has a number of colors when it's refracted through a prism. Um, And he is the first guy or the first person to develop a color wheel. And this is Isaac Newton's color wheel. And he divided the color wheel into seven colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So why seven? If you look at the refracted light of a prism or like a rainbow, we do see the seven colors, but we actually see a lot more than the seven colors because they sort of merge into each other, and there's not a clear linear definition between them. But he chose seven colors because back then seven was considered a mystical number. There are seven notes in an octave. In religion, there were 7 days of creation and seven seals and seven churches. In alchemy, there were seven metals, and at the time there were seven planets. So seven was an important number, and what Isaac Newton was trying to do was, when he was doing his color wheel, he was trying to combine both the notes of the scale, the seven notes in an octave, with the colors. And he never really quite figured it out. It really, to the day he died, he was struggling with it. But he really, really wanted to force a connection or a connection between color and music or musical notes. Um, So here is Newton's color wheel, and then there is Moses or Moises Harris, and then Goethe also developed color wheels. Harris's is the one that established the primary colors, and we'll talk about the primary colors: red, blue, and yellow. And he also worked on the theory of complementary colors, and we'll talk about those as well. So this was Harris's color wheel, and then Goethe's color wheel was much more subjective. What he was trying to equate was emotion with color. So red equaled beautiful, orange is noble, yellow, I think, meant goodness. Green meant usefulness. Blue, I think, meant common, and violet meant unnecessary. So that's what he was thinking when he was doing the color wheel, and what he was trying to equate color with emotions such as those. But our color wheel really follows the Harris color wheel the most closely. And we have three primary colors in our color wheel: red, blue, and yellow. And these hues are the three that pretty much everything else is sort of comprised of. And by the way, let me just sidebar here for a second. When I'm talking about this color wheel, I am talking about a pigment color wheel, not a light color wheel. So there is a light color wheel, and there is a pigmented color wheel, such as like paint or ink. That's really what I'm talking about. Because in interior design, although in lighting, you'll talk about the color wheel as well, but but when we are in interior design, we're talking about, wall colors and fabrics and pigmented colors. So our primaries are red, blue, and yellow on the color wheel. And then the secondaries are if I mix equal amounts of red and yellow, I will get orange, which is a secondary color. If I mix equal amounts of red and blue, I'll get purple, which is a secondary color. And if I mix equal amounts of blue and yellow, I will get green, which is a secondary color. So we have primaries, secondaries, and we have tertiaries. Tertiaries are if we mix a primary and the secondary, equal amounts of yellow and green, we get a yellow-green color. Or if we mix blue and green, we get blue-green, or I would call a teal color. So this is how our color wheel is developed. It's mixing in equal parts a either the three primaries or a primary and a secondary to get a tertiary. So here are, rather than red, purple, blue, we give them colors. So what's the difference between a hue and a color? So those primaries that we just talked about, the red, yellow, and blue, and then the secondaries and the tertiaries are hues. And there are 12 hues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hues. And then all of the other colors that we derive from those hues are called colors. So when you're talking about a primary color, you're really talking about a primary hue. And then all of the others are the colors. So where do we get all of these colors? How do we get them? Well, it's a matter of taking our pure hue, in this case, a yellow, I guess this is, and we mix them with different paints. So tints are mixed with white. So, and you often hear that, like, oh, this is a lighter tint of yellow than this one is. It's just sort of part of our lexicon as we're describing colors. Shades are mixed with black. This is a darker shade than this is. I wouldn't say this is a darker tint than this is. I would say this is a darker shade. And tones are mixed with gray. So as we are adding grays or blacks or whites to our pure hue, we are getting tints or shades or tones. Also, saturation, intensity, and chroma. You may have heard saturation or intensity. This is definitely a more intense color than this is. Or this is this yellow here is definitely less saturated than this color here. So that's where this terminology comes from. Hue, tint, shade, and tone let us create billions of individual colors. And on the color wheel, the outer ring of the color wheel, and my color wheel is, got it right here. You can see it. And my color wheel has got a bunch of colors here. And the outer color is the hue. That is the pure, one of the 12 pure colors. And then a tint is the next color in. That is the color mixed with white. And then a tone, that's the color mixed with gray. And then shade is the mixed with black. So a color's value is the degree of lightness and darkness that a color has. So colors from pink to maroon are all values of red. Okay, so color theory terminology. So someone back in 1974 did some experimentation. And I don't know how they did it. I guess they got a bunch of people and then they hooked them up to some sensors and then they showed them color and they measured stimulation. Red, and they determined that red is a more stimulating color than green, and green is more stimulating color than blue. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know, but this is what they did. So what they found was, I guess it is true. They found heightened awareness and elevated heart rate, pulse, blood pressure, and muscle tension probably all increased as they showed them these colors. So they determined that red is more stimulating to the human body at some level than green or blue might be. So we experience when we're stimulated by a color, we have a heightened awareness, increases the likelihood of remembering things and forming memory loops. So why is this important? Well, it's important to us, but it's important to if you're into graphic design at all, and but this is important to graphic designers. These colors, McDonald's and Target, Mitsubishi, those reds, that's no accident. Those were very, very deliberate colors that they chose. They didn't just say, "Oh, I think that the red for the target rather than blue or pink or something else. I think that would be the best color." No, they wanted you to remember that Target logo or the McDonald's logo. That all of that. And when you go to the grocery store or wherever you are, or when you're looking at commercials on TV, that marketing color theory is incredibly important to marketers. So I just wanted to point that out. But we are interior designers, and color is also important for us as well. So we may choose different colors for different situations or different rooms. In this instance, we've got strong greens and we have really strong reds here, and we're putting it in a bedroom. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, maybe our client loves it, and really our client is all about it, and so our client ultimately has the last word, and that we'll put in. But if my client says, I really want my bedroom to be really restful and calming and soothing, well, I know that red is a very stimulating color, so I'm probably not going to put a pure red in that color in that room. I might adjust that red, make it a little softer or a little darker. The green in this case is a little darker. And these are tints or shades of green. Tints of red is pink, and shades of green is this darker green here. So the tint, we're adding white to the red color, and we're softening that color, making it a little calmer and less intense. And we are darkening that green by adding black to it over here, and we're creating a shade of green. Okay, so meaning of color, this also is really important. In the US, we sort of have in our brains, built into our brains, we have some associations that we have with certain colors. Oops. Um, Red, we see, warmth or love or anger or danger. Blue, we see peace or professionalism. Blue actually became really associated with offices and professional logos back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and even 90s were very often blue. And that was because, believe it or not, IBM. I don't know if you've heard of IBM. They used to be the number one computer company in the world, and and their logo was blue, and people used to call IBM Big Blue. and it was sort of the epitome of big business, big corporate office structure, and professionalism. And blue became really a part of professionalism, loyalty, reliability. Purple, we often equate with royalty. Anyone know why we do that? Why we think purple sort of is a regal color, or sometimes rich? Anyone want to guess? So back in the Middle Ages, when we think of the Middle Ages, we think of royalty, right? Kings and stuff like that. And they would very often ensconce themselves in purple. And the only way that you could get a purple tint or purple dye was to go to the North Sea and harvest mollusk shells and then grind them down to be able to extract the purple dye, or whatever the material was that they could create that purple color. It was extremely difficult to do and extremely expensive to do. So the only people that could have purple was royalty. And that was something that, even today we equate with. In other countries, it is very often different. And so I went a few years ago, I went to a traditional Chinese wedding. But what was really interesting to me was that during the ceremony, during the actual wedding, the bride, I was expecting the bride to come out in, the white meringue, right? The wedding gown, the traditional wedding gown. And she didn't. She came out in red silk. And I don't know why, but it just really surprised me. And I mentioned it later at the reception, and one of the guys says to me, "Oh no, in traditional Chinese culture, she would never come out in white because that it means death, right? It means illness or death and or bad luck." So in Chinese culture, red means good luck. And it is important for you to, and what, after they said that, it kind of like clicked to me. I'm like, oh yeah, red, you see a lot of red, and it does mean in good luck in that culture. But as a designer, you need to know your client. You may have the most beautiful color palette, and you're just and your client may go, "Oh my God, it's horrible. It's just, because it means something that is just absolutely the opposite of what you thought it might meant." Knowing your client is important, because the colors that you may choose on a for a project may depend on what they mean to your client. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so this is another image that I wanted to show you all. And we think very often, kids are boys and girls. We dress boys in blue and girls in pink. But up until World War II, it was exactly the opposite. Boys dressed in pink and girls dressed in blue. It was exactly the opposite. Now, actually, so infants were generally dressed in white, and that was, so there was no distinction made right at birth of the color of the clothing, and that had a practical reason, because babies, they spit up, they soil their clothes really bad, and you need to bleach them. So all the clothes were white so that they could get them nice and clean. But as they grew up, as they were 1 or 2 or 3 years old, girls were dressed in blue and boys were dressed in pink. Pink or red was seen as a more masculine color, and hues or shades or tints of red were seen as masculine. We encouraged boys to be more active. running around, and they're out of breath, and their faces flushed with rosy cheeks. And girls, we sometimes see them as more pastoral, sitting and more serene in more serene settings, like still water or blue skies. So that is up until World War II was the way that kids were dressed. If you were in pink, you were a boy, and if you were in blue, you were a girl. And then after World War II, I think it has to do with uniforms were in blue, and blue was sort of suddenly seen as more masculine, and the colors have really quickly flipped. But I just sort of a fun little fun fact. Okay, so let's talk about the color wheel. So there are some standards, some go-tos using our friend the color wheel, that we can choose colors that are going to work together. So the first one is monochromatic. Colors that are of the same are on the same. Let me go to a darker color so you can see a little better. And pick this green. So if I'm picking the same color in this wedge on the color wheel, those colors are going to work together. And that is called a monochromatic color scheme. An analogous color scheme are three colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel. And so on my color wheel, I have this bottom part that has three colors. And as I roll the color wheel around, there are always three colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel. So theoretically, I can choose these colors on the color wheel, and they will work nicely together. Another one is complementary. They are opposites on the color wheel. So on my color wheel, I've got this triangle, and I've got a vertical line running through that's pointing to this color and this color. Those are the complements of each other. So those are complementary on the color wheel. And split complements are this blue up here on the top, and then this one here on this right side or left side, and then this one here. Those are split complements. And then triadic and double complementary, in all honesty, I'm not sure that I've ever used them, but theoretically, I guess those go well together. So let's just look at a couple of these. So here is monochromatic color scheme. It's calling it the yellow orange. This looks brown, but if I'm on the yellow orange hue here, brown is derived from it. It's by adding black or gray to it, I can get brown colors here. And we are pretty much all within that single wedge on the color wheel. So let me open up the floor. This is a monochromatic color scheme. Good or bad? Shout it out. What's your thoughts?
I think it's kind of good because like the grains that are used there are not like too much, although I don't know how to explain it. Like I think maybe having more color, just like at least like the change of the pillows, I think that would be enough for me. But besides that, I think the level of green that is being used in there, it's okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Here's my problem with.
Is this a basic room on college? Because it's a college colors.
Okay. Yeah. My issue with this, it's really not my favorite scheme here. And it certainly is monochromatic, no doubt about that. But my issue is this, that like the draperies here, the curtains, and then this wall, and then this bed here, the the tones or tints of those colors are so close to each other that it starts to look a little bit muddy. I would have loved to have seen maybe these colors reversed. So if this was darker and this was lighter, so that all of them are there's more differentiation between them. I think that would make this a little more successful. Okay, analogous. Three colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And here is an example of it. So this is the dominant color is blue green, and then they chose blue and blue violet for the other colors. What do you think? Good or bad? Don't be shy. Somebody shout out.
Well, this is better.
I agree. I think this is better. I have some people in the past say that they absolutely hate this, and when I ask them why, invariably it's this color that it's just a personal preference. They just are not a fan of this teal color. But yeah, I think in general this is pretty successful. Good or bad? What do you think?
I really like it personally.
I do
think
too.
like the purples, the orange and the yellow and that subtle green are really nice against the dark floor.
I agree. So there's unlike that green one before, there's a lot more control with the proportions and percentages of which colors are being used. So I agree. I think this is pretty darn successful. And complementary. So those are opposites on the color wheel. It's definitely a scheme that works. You know, it's very bright and it's very dynamic. What do you think? Good or bad? Catherine, what do you think?
Good.
Maria, you're liking it? I do too. I think it might be a little dated, but I think it works. Okay. What do you think? Good or bad?
Bad.
Super bad.
It feels really, really dated. It feels like the early 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah. So some people absolutely love this. I I couldn't be in this room for more than 10 minutes. It's too stimulating for me, I guess, you know. I think it's a difficult room for me to be in. This would be. I've never been in this room, but I think it would be. So what do you think? Good or bad?
Too much.
Too much. So all right, I agree. When you say too much, though, are you referring to the color or something else?
The I was thinking like the color. I don't know. I feel they try to like put like all the colors in one single place, although they try to keep it as organized as possible, kind of. But it's I don't know, it's just like a little bit too much because from if you see it from the distance, you don't know you can distinguish from the wallpaper and what I assume it's a bed or a couch. Like from
Yeah,
distance, it disappears. So I don't know.
yeah,
It's a little bit too much.
yeah. Okay, I respect that. I personally don't. I'm not a fan of all the pattern. For me, it's a little much for me. So in 2023, paint color is really, really important for resale values of homes. Um, Homes with charcoal gray kitchens sold, this is 2023, $2,500 more than similar homes that just had white or blue or yellow kitchens. So what you as a designer need to be aware of what the latest, always changing color trends are. That is your responsibility as a designer to introduce to your clients colors that are going to work. So does anyone know what the Pantone color of, well, I just showed you, of 2026 is? It, this just blew my mind. It's like an off-white. That is the color of the year. And so last year it was sort of a very light, it was almost like a manila folder. Like, okay, so here is, I've got like this manila folder here. I don't know how well you can see it, but the color was almost this. The colors just seem to be right now, I really don't know what it is, but they just seem to be so safe. You know, the color of the year is literally a white, an off-white, which blows my mind. Back in the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s, colors were bright, vibrant, purple and orange and, and chocolate brown were the colors of the year. So I don't know. I really don't know. Does anyone know why this is? Why this is just trending like this right now? Because I would love to know, but
I mean, it looks clean. It looks clean, it looks safe, it looks nice, it goes well with every other color, so you can combine it with everything. It gives your space, like it makes it visually bigger, and
so
I don't
yeah.
know, it's just affordable.
So okay, so you're talking like a real estate agent. And you're right. And my mom is that way. Oh no, all the rooms need to be white, because one day I'm going to sell the house and everyone wants white walls, so that they can do what they want. But, if you're designing for a client that's going to live in that house, yes, it does feel larger, but, not necessarily. Dark colors, a dark accent wall can push the wall back visually and make the room look larger. Um, but I think the key word that you said was safe. And I think that's what we are all about right now, safety and that individuality and that expression is I don't know if it's being lost, but I think maybe we're just maybe a little afraid or we're concerned about what others are thinking rather than what I like, so.
I actually just had this conversation with my cousin because I just redid my condo and I had this theory of like anti-millennial gray. Since I am a millennial, I didn't want to do any like basic colors. So I made like my guest room green, like my bedroom is blue, and I have a bathroom that's pink. And I just wanted just like out there kind of things.
Yeah.
And my cousin was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that." But I was like, I'm just so sick of like this safe colors. Like my living room is kind of like a beige, like a more
Yeah.
beigey color,
Yeah.
but I have like things on the walls. But my cousin was saying, well, she has 4 kids and she's like, they're always changing, like the style, like their styles are always changing. The oldest won't even wear the youngest hand-me-downs anymore. And she's like, I just feel like the style changes too quickly to keep up with. And like, also you have to think about like the economy right now. Like people don't have as much money and like extra money to be spending on decor and paint and contractors or stuff like that. So I think it just is easier to paint things white, and then maybe you can change the artwork out a little bit easier.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
I know that was her
Yeah.
excuse. I was like, you need some
Yeah.
color in the
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. It
Yeah.
really is. And if you look back at years past, there really is a marked difference between what is are the colors that we're valuing now. And I think you all are right. That safe, easily adaptable, and maybe it's a lot easier to put up a different poster on the wall than it is to change the color of the wall itself. Okay. So, know your target audience, age, gender, location, what they dislike, and what you want them to feel. All right. So, homework number 2. homework number 1 is the sketch that I'd like you to do. Number 2 is this color scheme assignment, and this is on Blackboard. What I want you to do is 3 boards here, or 3 8.5 by 11 sheets here. And I want you to find some images of rooms that have a monochromatic color scheme, a complementary color scheme, and an analogous color scheme. And just show, 3 or 4 or 2 or 3. It doesn't matter how many, really. This is saying 3. Let's say 3. 3 different images showing examples of each one of those color schemes. So let me show you some examples. So this is one from a few years back. This is a monochromatic color scheme. And what this person did was just found 3 monochromatic color schemes, put them on, either a Word document or a PDF, however you want to do it, it's totally fine. Even if you want to cut them out of a magazine and paste them on 8.5 by 11 and take a picture, that's fine too. But more than that, what I'm also looking for is composition of your sheet. I want it to look neat and professional looking. So this person put a monochromatic color scheme here. They put a title on this, and they're showing their 3 color schemes. Here's another one, monochromatic, 3 images. There's a title on here. The person's name is on here. It looks nice. It's a nice board. It's something that you could show to a client, Okay, so I'm thinking of a monochromatic color scheme for you. Oh, what's that? What's a monochromatic color scheme? Oh, well, here's an example of monochromatic rooms. Here is another one, complementary, couple images, and then a title over here that says complementary color scheme. So here's another one. I thought this one was really clever as well. There's the 3 images here. And then what this person did was they found those complementary colors and put little images or pulled little colors from them to show the complementary colors. I thought this was really clever too. I would have liked to seen it say complementary on it, but I thought that this composition for this board was actually really pretty interesting. Okay, so effects of color. This is a reading that's in Blackboard. I do recommend that you read it. I'm not going to quiz you on it or anything, but I just wanted to remind you that it is there. All right, we're already at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Oh, the clock is wrong. So let's move on to showing materials. So here's a couple images of materials. This is leadstone. There's a wood grain here and some stainless steel. And when we are sketching or when we are rendering, very often we want to be able to identify what materials are in the space that we're rendering or that we're drawing or sketching. And I'm just going to discount this fabric. I'm not even sure why this is on here. So here are 3 images here of different materials. And here they are again in black and white. And when I am rendering a material, I am usually, if I'm sketching with a pencil, I'm usually doing it in black and white. Not always, but I think it's easier to start out in black and white. And when I am looking at these materials, I'm looking for things that stand out that help to define this. If I'm drawing this, I'm not necessarily going to draw every single brick or every single piece of stone here, but I know that there's some horizontality here. I know that there's some dark and light here and a couple verticals, and just those strokes with my pencil should give me some idea of this leadstone. Stainless steel, it has its own, it has a grain to it. And if I look at the stainless steel, you can see there's some horizontal graining that's going on in it, and it's somewhat reflective. And I can see there's a reflection right here in the middle of this stainless. I've got it's darker over here on the two sides. And so I've got more product, or if I'm drawing this or sketching it with a pencil, I've got more product here on the sides than I have in the middle, because I'm trying to keep a light area over here. So if we were in class, we would be drawing this, but because it's getting late and because we're online, I'm not going to do this tonight. But here are just a couple images of some materials that a previous student did. So this first one is just getting an idea of stainless. So what we're seeing here is some horizontal graining. What she did was she used her pencil and just used horizontal strokes. She started off at the side and went toward the middle. So and then lifted her pencil as he got toward the middle, so that the strokes are darker on the sides and lighter in the center. And it's giving her some darkness here on the sides, and so the idea is to get some reflection here and some horizontality here. So for the wood grain here, this wood is got this is called cathedraling. If you look at a piece of wood, and it's got, you see these arches, like maybe you have a stained door or something like that. You'll see these arches often, not always, but often. And that's called cathedraling. So what she did was she just sort of just drew this cathedraling, and I'm assuming that this is like wood veneer, like you would have on a desk or on a door or something like that. And just some quick lines, right? It's not a lot of attention is paid to this. It's just a quick, she's finding out what are those main things that make this what it is, what this material is, and just kind of showing it just to give the impression of that material. And this last one is she's calling leadstone. When I first looked at it, I thought it was wood plank flooring. Because I'm seeing the plank, the horizontality here, and a couple little verticals, and then she's got some shadows here that is supposed to give me an impression of texture here. Is it exact? No, but we're getting an impression of 3 different materials here. So here's your last piece of homework for next week. On Blackboard, there is a line drawing of this kitchen. And what I want you to do is I want you to render this kitchen, just like you did with the chair last week, but I want you to render this kitchen. And I want you to show some materials. Specifically, I want you to show a stainless steel refrigerator. And there's a fume hood up here above the stove. Maybe you can or not. You might want to make that stainless as well. But at the very least, I want to see some stainless in this render. The second material is some kind of stone countertop. And that can just be the top, or if you want a waterfall edge, you want the side to be stone or granite, that's fine. But I want to be able to show my client and have them read stone of some sort. And the last thing is a wood floor, some sort of wood plank floor. You're not going to have veneer floor, but you're going to have planks on the floor. So let's look at some examples. So this one was actually done with I think colored pencil and I think some marker as well. So this student put in stainless, I guess, on this entire piece here, which is fine. And I'm starting to see some light over here. So the idea is some horizontality here to sort of indicate the graining of the stone of the stainless and some reflection. And you can see there is some reflection here on this the hood over here. It's darker over here, lighter over here. I'm seeing wood grain on the side of this, and I'm not sure I'm seeing stone here. It looks like that she's just sort of stippled this on the top, which is fine. And then for the wood floor, she is just kind of just drawing some, really just some lines, right? Just some lines that are going across. What I love about this also is that there's some attention to shadows and shading as well. The back corner is a little darker. It's kind of in shadow. The side of the of this stainless piece here is a little darker, and I'm seeing a little darkness underneath the leg area here, of the island here. So that also is in shadow. Here's another one. This one also they did in Coptic marker. I would suggest using colored pencil, or you could just do it in black and white, just in regular pencil if you'd like as well. So I'm kind of seeing stainless here. I guess I'm seeing stainless. I'm seeing some, I think this is wood or stone back on this wall back here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm seeing here, but this again, just simple strokes that is showing the direction of the planks, the wood planks. So if my designer is showing this to me, I'm her client, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is stainless. This is probably wood or something. And this is probably wood plank floor. I would read that. Here's another one. I appreciate the shadow down here. I really do, because it's giving this island some depth. I'm definitely reading wood on the side here, but I'm not getting a wood plank floor here. I'm really not. So again, some horizontality here. I appreciate this. I think this is a nod to get some shadow here on the side here. I think it's a little too strong, but I appreciate that they did it. I think the stainless reads better up here. And so this floor, I have a bit of an issue with it. And it does have the strokes here that I'm reading wood plank, I am, but it's not reading as a flat floor to me. And in fact, it's kind of like dipping down, and it almost looks like if I were sitting on this chair, I might be sliding back down a hill this way. And the reason for that is that the strokes of the floor are not matching the perspective of the rest of the drawing. So what is the perspective of the rest of the drawing? Your clue is the bottom of the island right here. This line right here is sitting flat on the floor. And so the strokes of our planks, our wood planks, should follow this line right here. Just make them parallel to this. Just go and make them parallel, and your floor will look a lot flatter than this one does. I do appreciate that it's a little darker back here. I love the little pops of color. She didn't have to go crazy with it. But I think that the floor could be a little bit better. Just not the treatment of the floor, but just the angle of that floor, I think, is not quite successful. It's another example. This is with, I believe this is colored pencil. So, all right. So I like and not like this one. So this one, what this student did was they took they taped this down, they took a straight edge, and they drew these planks, these wood planks. And I appreciate that. There's no question about it. This is a wood plank floor. There's no two ways about it, right? We all know what this is. But what I wanted it to be is a little more freeform and not have her use a straight edge to draw it. But what I do like about it is that she's following this line here. Well, here, I think she's going a little bit off, but she's taking this line right here and she's kind of following that direction to get those planks going, and it looks like a flat floor. But you say, well, I want my planks to run the other direction. Well, you can do that as well. Rather than follow this line, follow this line. And if you follow this line and your planks are running in this direction and they're parallel to this line, your floor will look flat. It'll look awesome. But there's some attention to shadows here. I like that. I'm reading the graining of the stone here. I think it's pretty successful. Here's one more. So you don't have to go crazy with the render, but you know, make it look finished. Don't be overwhelmed. Just take it one little part at a time. Have a sheet of paper next to you and practice. Do some practicing, get an idea, try to identify materials. What we're trying to do is identify materials, and 2, we're trying to make it look, if we can, 3-dimensional. And to make it 3-dimensional, we want to put in some shadow. You don't have to go crazy with the shadow and shading, but you want to have that shadow and shading, which gives our kitchen drawing here some depth.